Welcome to Keen on Retirement, a show dedicated to helping you thrive before and during your retirement years. If you are looking to grow and protect your wealth and want to make the second half of your life the best half, then listen in as Wealth Advisor Bill Keen sorts through the key issues that you need to know in a lively and candid way.
Linda is 68, retired, sitting at her kitchen table on a Tuesday afternoon. Her phone rings. The text appears to be from her brokerage firm. Did you authorize a purchase at a local apparel shop today? Reply yes if you recognize this. Reply no if you don't, and a fraud specialist will contact you. Well, she replies no. Less than a minute later, her phone rings. The man on the other end is calm, professional, and sympathetic. He says he's with the brokerage firm's fraud department, and he'll help her stop the unauthorized transaction. To verify her identity, he says, the firm is going to send her a 6-digit code, and all she needs to do is read it back. She receives the code, reads it to the man on the other end of the line. She thanks him, he thanks her, and the call is over. Within minutes, 3 transfers leave her rollover IRA. She realizes this is not right. She flags one of them, and it is reversed in time. But 2 of them, totaling about $3,000, are gone. And when she calls her brokerage firm, the answer is one that nobody wants to hear. Because she authorized the person to access her account by providing them with the 6-digit code, there's nothing they can do. And the firm is not on the hook.
Well, Matt, that is a sad story there. And we're going to
only
dig
3,000, though, you said,
Right.
if I heard that right.
Yeah, it wasn't
Right.
a whole lot, but still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every bit counts for sure. Yeah. So we're gonna dig into that story a little bit more here today. And so appreciate you sharing that here in our opening. And to all of you watching and listening, welcome back to Keen on Retirement. I'm Steve. Got Matt and Bill here as always, and we're gonna be talking about how not to become Linda in this situation. Yeah, because this is a big problem that's been going on for many, many years and looks like it may actually be getting worse. And certainly people in their 50s, 60s, 70s are likely the most vulnerable to something like this. So we're going to talk about some things that you can do to take precautions and make sure that you're not a victim in a situation like this. So Bill, what are your thoughts as we kick this one off here today?
Well, I mean, we talk a lot about folks being thoughtful. Here at Keen Wealth, we have just aggressive cybersecurity training with our team. We're constantly putting this at the forefront of our minds.
Mm-hmm.
So, training each one of our team members and ourselves through we're sending out, our team is sending out emails trying to trick our team into clicking on links.
Internal tests.
Internal tests, just to be clear,
not sending those to clients.
Not to clients, yes. But the training around how to be aware, which is exactly why we're doing this very show today, because understanding, being awareness is, I think, probably the greatest defense to these things, not engaging. And it's really easy to get caught up in one. No matter how sophisticated you think you might be, there's going to be a time where somebody orchestrates, one of these scammers or these bad actors will orchestrate a combination of outreaches to you that will make you possibly think that this one is real, or it slips it by you. So we're very focused on training our team here at Keen and training our clients on how to be aware of these things. And we have security protocols in place. If you're a client, you know some of our protocols that we have in place here to avoid some of this. Or all of this would be ideal. Yeah.
Yeah, this is, and just to be clear, so the FBI annually releases their Internet Crime Complaint Center report, which details all the different types of fraud that individuals are taking advantage of. And this piece, like this example that we just provided, this is called an account takeover fraud. They have terms for all these different types of things. And they said in 2025, about 4,700 complaints came in related to this account takeover concept, and it totaled about 360 million in losses. So it is significant. Now, Linda isn't a real person. This is not a client of ours. It's just a composite of just the concept of what can happen. And this is how that fraud works. And it's not because, Linda is unsophisticated, as you mentioned, Bill, or careless. It's just, I think most people they recognize that, oh, hey, I'm getting an alert, a fraud alert. Yeah, no, it's not fraudulent. They're going to call me. Okay. It just that the series makes sense to them and doesn't trigger any red flags to take a step back and pause. And, we're going to cover different types of fraud that people are coming across. And then really, how can you protect yourself? Because it starts with yourself first. And then, of course, all the financial institutions have their own cybersecurity measures and everything else, but you've got to protect your own data, your own passwords, your own logins, all that. That's where it starts. If you can protect yourself, then you're pretty much protected outside of, something happening somewhere else that's out of your control.
That's right. Matt, good job and Steve, good job on the cold open today.
Yeah.
For those of you viewers and listeners, if you happen to notice slightly different opening to the program, going behind the curtain here just a little, that's kind of like we talked about Saturday Night Live, right? They do cold opens.
That's right.
So we tried a cold open today.
I know we're missing the live audience. Where's all the applause?
That's right. Now we need to say live from Keen Wealth World Headquarters. It's
that's right.
A great podcast and video show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this report, though, it comes out in April every year. So it's always, I always kind of check it out because there are new things that show up. And of course, the FBI provides, a ton of data on it. We'll link to it in the show notes for everyone if they care to check it out. But some of the just headline numbers here. So they, in 2025, so this division within the FBI, they received over 1 million complaints. And it was nearly 21 billion in losses, which is a 26% increase over 2024. I mean, it's just like this is compounding exponentially. Back in 2000, when they started this program and started tracking it, they were receiving maybe a few thousand complaints a month. They're receiving 3,000 a day. I mean, it's just, it continues to just become more and more of a problem. And some of the biggest ones are investment fraud. That's the largest from a dollar amount, almost $9 billion there. Then you've got business email compromise at $3 billion, tech customer support fraud at $2 billion, personal data breaches at $1 billion. What they call confidence or romance scams, 929 million. Government impersonation, 800 million. Cryptocurrency, 11 billion in total losses. And then AI.
So that's higher.
Yeah,
that's higher than all the others. It looked like you were kind of going down, and all of a sudden crypto was in there at the highest.
Yeah, and it kind of, I think really where crypto falls in is in different categories on how people are receiving the funds.
Sure.
Not necessarily like crypto specific scams. It's just, it's used a lot, which, you got a letter years ago requesting payment in crypto.
I did. I shared it on here. It was probably 5-6 years ago too.
I mean, that was
recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, had you bought that crypto and held on to it, maybe it'd be worth a lot of money these
days. I didn't have to, luckily I didn't have to send it. I didn't have anything, they didn't have any dirt on me. So the letter they wrote, literally sent it to my house. Remember? I got it in the mail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wanted me to send some crypto over. They were going to release all the secrets.
Yeah, that continues to be a that and gift cards. Those are kind of some of the two biggest
Yes.
ways that people are receiving payment through these, fraudulent scams. And that's typically like, okay, how do you know? Well, some of it is based on, well, how do the people want to receive the funds? Like if they're convincing you that you have to pay money, no government entity is going to request payment in crypto or gift cards. So typically that's a red flag there, but that's not all of fraudulent activity. But it's one way to identify, is this legitimate or not. A new descriptor in 2025. So this didn't exist in previous reports, but was AI related losses, nearly 900 million. And yeah, interestingly enough, there was beginning of May every year is the annual shareholder meeting for Berkshire Hathaway. And they even kind of used a little bit of AI, which I think kind of fits in well here. You came
Yes.
across that article on that bill.
Yeah, we saw that come in. I'm not sure if I know we've talked about over many years. In fact, you've even gone to, I think, Matt,
Uh-huh.
several of those meetings, right? That
That's right.
you
Yeah.
attended.
When Buffett was still, he's now retired. Of course, I think he was emceeing this one as kind of
He,
a kickoff for the new regime there.
yeah, but he was still in the house, as they say. But they were having the shareholder meeting. I saw this article come through with one of the research periodicals that I do cover or read. It said bizarre moment at Berkshire's annual meeting spotlights cyber risk. And it said, so he just to brief it a little
Yeah.
here, it said kicking off the Q&A on Saturday morning, the spotlight went to a video where a quote Warren from Omaha asked the first question. And here's what he said. He said, "Hi, my name is Warren from Omaha. I've recently undergone, let's call it, a significant change in role. And I have, well, let's just say a not insignificant portion of my net worth tied up in Berkshire stock. Now, Greg," and he's asking the person leading, "Greg, I've been watching this company for a while, a long time, a very long time, and I've been telling people I have no intentions of selling a single share. So I have a simple question. I'm 95. I've got nothing but time and cherry Coke. I want to know, just so I have something to tell my fellow shareholders, why should they hold their Berkshire shares for the long term?" Now, I read that whole thing, even though it took a little time, because the reason why is because this ended up being AI that created that based on information that's out there. And Greg Abel, who the question was referring to, is the current CEO of Berkshire. And he said that wasn't Warren. He said it was a deep fake. And there's an interesting thing
Wow.
that was done with zero input from Warren. So the voice, the photo, all that, they were able to obtain that with information that's just out there online. And I say they, as in they did it themselves. This wasn't an actual spoof on them. They did it themselves to show what could be done
Mm-hmm.
with just information.
Publicly available information. Yeah.
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 And
I
I know
think this,
Buffett, I mean, obviously he's probably
He's
more deep faked than any of us here or any of our listeners or viewers, but still the idea that it can be done so easily
Yeah.
is something to be aware of.
yeah. And I think it's going to just become even more common too. And I think we've already seen this with like family members where scammers create deep fakes of family members who then call someone else in the family and say, "Hey, I'm stranded here. I need some money," or something like that. And it sounds like their voice and that sort of thing. So we have to be very, very careful in this age of AI because it's going to make it just like the Warren deep fake. We could have family members as deep fakes and they sound real and look real.
Yeah. 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 And, you know, one of the, we talked through kind of the different categories here, and then they also break the report down into age brackets.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at, okay, what are the age ranges of the people getting scammed or falling victims to these things, and the dollar amounts. People over 60, so they just categorize it over 60. They filed over 200,000 complaints in 2025, which is an increase of 37% just on the number of complaints from 2024, and nearly $8 billion in losses, which was a 59% increase over 2024. I mean, it's the fastest growing segment within the report.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it's definitely, they're targeting people that are older. And I mean, it makes sense in a couple of different ways. One, they probably feel like they're easier to convince with these different tools that are out there, but also they tend to have more money. So why target people with no money when you can target people with more money? So I think at least that's what the fraudsters are looking at there. So it's a big problem that that people are facing.
Yeah. So what can we do about it? What are some other scams that we should be watching out for here as well?
Yeah. I mean, there's really, all of these scams, they kind of have some combination of these, three things. So unexpected contact. So you're just getting something out of the blue. So whether that's a text, phone call, email, pop up on your computer online. Then so that's one. So unexpected. Then the second typically, combination here is manufactured urgency. So you have to do something now. If not, there's consequences. And then a request for information. So that could be a code like we had with Linda, a password, social security number, bank account information, wiring instructions, whatever that information is. But typically it's more involved information than, something that would be available online, like your address or whatever. And so these scammers, they've gotten much better at it. I mean, I say back in the day, I mean, we used to talk a lot about these, scams, and people would get these poorly written emails about how they won the lottery. And, most folks kind of realize that is not real because it doesn't make any sense. And two, the emails were all spelled wrong. There's a bunch of errors, all of the above. But I think now with AI and everything else, these things are now much more sophisticated and more real. The deep fake using Warren Buffett, as you mentioned, Steve, people pretending to be someone who sounds exactly like a family member and has enough information to pretend to be a family member. And they're, very professional sounding people too. And they're, they kind of position themselves as, we'll fix the problem. Like again, in Linda's case, hey, we'll take care of that fraud. Just give me the code and then we can verify your account, or however, they probably worded it. And again, it's like that checks a lot of boxes for people. They expect that type of thing. And so it does. And especially when you're caught off guard, maybe there's circumstances you would have catch this normally, but something's just happening in the moment and you're distracted and all of a sudden, it happens. So, again, it's like, okay, so what can we do about it? That's the biggest thing. Well, one, anytime you receive anything unexpected, what you want to do is, not respond to it. So whether it's a text, phone call, email, you want to contact, if it's a financial institution that they're pretending to be, you want to contact them directly. So don't click on any links. Don't call the numbers that are provided to you in any of the things that they've contacted you with, these scammers that are impersonating them. Go to their URL, the actual website of the company, or, Google the phone number for a local branch if it's your bank and call them. And you want to talk to someone there and not go through the protocol that the scammer's trying to get you to go through, because that's how they keep you captive in this whole thing. So if you go outside that, you'll be able to determine if this is correct. So that's step one, just don't even, if you ignore most of these things, you're probably better off too. I mean, ultimately, I guess you could say if you could just get off the grid completely, but that's not really feasible nowadays. So you want to you want to contact those institutions, get there, like in the situation, Steve, you mentioned, pretend to be a family member. Okay. Hang up the phone and actually call that family member back, or call another family member that knows where is that family. If it's someone pretending to be a grandchild, we'll call the parents and say, hey, I just got a call from so-and-so. Is there an issue? Just, you want to confirm the information before you actually act on it.
Yeah, we had a situation here just a few days ago, actually, and my wife's name is Linda. No relation to the Linda
Yes.
in our cold opening here. I was actually in Omaha. She was out here in Oregon, and she calls and she's sort of panicking, and she shows her computer screen on the phone and says it's got these pop-ups that says, call now, your computer's been infected, and call this 800 number. By all means, do not shut your computer down because that will cause the virus to blah, blah, blah. And so she calls and says, well, what should I do here? And I'm looking at it, and then another thing's popping up and I'm like, this is a total scam.
Yep.
But she couldn't get rid of any of it. But she's like, well, what do I do? How do I get rid of all of this stuff? And I said, just shut the computer down, even though it says don't shut the computer down.
Right.
And so she shut the computer down, and that solved the problem and made it go away. But yeah, and that one, I mean, what made it not look legitimate is that it kept popping up stuff. I mean, that's clearly they're trying to, when you look at your things that you mentioned here, unexpected contact. Okay.
Yep.
Check that box. Manufactured urgency. Check that box. Request for information. In this case, they were saying, call us at this number type thing. Yeah. So it was checking those boxes for sure.
Yeah. And another maybe angle to all of this, any major corporation, nowadays, none of them want you to call them, so they're not going to send you something requesting you to call them. They all want you to use emails or chats, or, even use their AI chat bots and everything else. So, usually that's right there can kind of tip you off like, hey, what? Microsoft, they're asking me to call them. Yeah, sure. Microsoft wants you to call them and waste whoever's time that's on the other line.
So I think it's worth it to share this story real quick. I did already about 3 years ago, but I think it's important to share it again because you just never know. And if someone watching or viewing this, listening to this could be helpful. One of the things, because we're all basically on point for this stuff. I mean, we should be. I mean, I think enough folks are talking about it, including us here today, that people are weary and suspect, hopefully. But there's some like emotional and some confusing and some I guess shrewd ways these scammers can operate. And so we received a call at the house about some outstanding issues with taxes or something like this. And someone from the house picked it up, and they said, look, if we're going to take action on this, but if you want more information, here's your case number. And you just call back this other number, give them your case number, and they'll give you more information, or you might be able to do something along those lines. And it sounded like reasonably legit, and there was no pressure to call the number back. They weren't like pressuring you to call the number. They said, look, if this is happening, they're like, look, this is happening. And if you want to try to understand more, you feel free to call this number and give them your case number. And if not, well, fine. It'll just, whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And it was something like an outstanding ticket or something like this, like they were trying to say there was an outstanding ticket. And so someone from the house called back the number and gave them that case number. And it felt so real because they were asking my person for the information. Like they were wanting to validate the information. And then we were giving them
information.
Yeah, we were giving them like it played tricks on the brain because you're thinking you're calling them and they're allowing you to talk to them with numbers that you had been provided. And we figured it out that it was a scam shortly after that. So nothing happened, but it was just confusing the way they put it out there.
Yeah.
Had you call back, and even they weren't pressuring either. I think they probably set it up so they knew almost 90% of the people would probably call the number to try to stop whatever it was. But it was it was shrewd and the way they did it, because it made it seem like it certainly wasn't a scam. So I think it's good to understand all aspects to these things.
So
when
how
we
did
go
you
into it.
finally figure out that it was a scam? What
Well,
was your
I
indication?
think she just realized it, Steve, like
Yeah.
in speaking with them, because they started saying they could clear it up for a certain amount of money.
Mm.
Clear up this outstanding ticket that had been out. I think it was a ticket. I said tax earlier. It was something. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
something nominal that, like they said, was from years before, 7 years, and it was just now working itself through the system. And but normal. I mean, you could get caught off guard by some of this, especially if you're
Right.
calling back and giving them numbers, and they wanted the last. They were verifying that you really were who you were. Like they had turned it on her. They were like,
Right.
they were verifying with her that she really is who she was, saying she
Yeah.
was. Do you follow me?
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it really played a trick on the mind.
Right. Well, because there's so much public information out there about all of us.
Yeah.
And so that is very clever on the scammers' part, is they just get all this public information and they repeat, like you're saying, they repeat it back to you. I just want you to verify your middle name is this, you were born here and this year. And yeah. Oh my gosh, they must be legit. Yeah. So that,
Oh, yeah.
very,
Yeah.
it's easy to get people on that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how important it is, but maybe in the just remaining few minutes we have left, I don't know how important it is to talk with our viewers and listeners about this concept. It probably is important though, of ransomware. Ransomware. Like we're talking about broad scams here. We talked about a lot of them today. Investments being the biggest one. Investments. That's why, Matt, we get calls all the time, don't we? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not all the time, but more than you would wonder. Folks calling in, saw something on the internet. There's some deal. It pays 12%. You can get your money monthly. You get your money back anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, or you just name it, right? Just name the different things people call us with. And come to find out, a lot of these aren't just bad investments. They're actual scams where they just steal all your money.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we have that. I think it showed one of the largest besides crypto. But this idea where folks can come in and take over your system and charge you a ransom to get access back to your system. We had a hospital here in Kansas City that was ransomed, and they had to pay the ransom. It was really something. I remember they were moving patients. I mean, they shut down sound like something you'd see on TV, right? But it was real. They've shut down their systems and they were moving patients around the city, and it was really interesting. But when you think about the ransomware, there are some things, and I don't know if you've heard of anything around this area as well. Steve, do you worry about ransomware?
I mean, I take precautions, as I should, but I don't worry too much about it. But I mean, it's an issue.
You're not as big as a target. Maybe, it's like
no,
who's the target, right?
I don't think so. Right.
Who can get the big ransomware? So
yeah, I don't think they'd be going after me because I'm not a big target.
Yeah. So, hey, whether it's ransomware or just being secure, don't you think that for most people that they should create like an off-site or offline backup of their system, just out of a matter of practice? It seems like that would be reasonable, doesn't it? That you would back up your system every maybe month or something. I mean, if you're a business, maybe more often, of course, but every month.
Well, for an individual, it's all related to what's on it. If there's nothing on it that you care that much about, backups may be less important. But then you think about, okay, well, how do you protect your passwords? Use actual password managers, and there's some very good ones out there. I think we can probably link to some of them. We've talked to them about them in the past that will help generate random passwords too. So don't use the same password over and over again. You want randomly generated passwords that are complex.
And they look crazy. You would never be able to memorize them. But if you have how
they're not written down anywhere either. That's the other aspect.
Yeah, because some folks come in, they have this, they're like, here, what's your, they're going to log into something. They pull out a piece of paper and there's like
sticky note,
100 passwords written down with a little scribble on the piece of paper. It's like, man, I hope
a combination of the same password.
Hope you don't lose that piece of paper. But those things it is serious, and it seems so easy, but it's real, isn't it? Because if somebody gets access to your system and they have all your passwords, now it's game on, right?
Yeah.
But
it's a hassle. It is a hassle. That's the reality. It's part of, how this all works. Because even so many things now have the SMS, texting, where they're going to text you a code, our example at the beginning of the show. And that's even gotten, they're bad actors are able to even intercept those. They call them SIM swaps, where they can basically kind of take over your phone and receive those texts like you are receiving them. So they can get access through that. So if you're able to, most of these, like, you think about the big stuff, it's kind of like, what's the big important stuff? Well, it's all your bank accounts, your investment accounts, those things. If you can set up a multi-factor authenticator, like, so MFA, that is more secure than an SMS text, because no one can intercept that. That's an app that lives on the device itself, not again, like the SIM doesn't have any connection to that. And that is definitely a recommended thing. The FBI recommends it
even
to
for
use
individuals
like that
at this point.
Yeah. I mean, if you could turn that on for anything, definitely your financial stuff, that's important. Pass keys are more and more becoming prevalent. I've noticed that a lot too in some of these applications. Do you want to enable the pass key? And that is a secure, again, cannot be intercepted type of verification that kind of lives on the device. And if you want to even take it a step further, and we have some clients that do this, they enable with us a phrase or a passcode that they want us to have on file, that they'll provide to us whenever they are calling in and requesting, distributions. That's even a step further where you can have that on file. So, there's a lot of things that you can do to just help with the initial, like, hey, okay, people can't just breach my stuff and then pretend to be me and execute everything. And then you take it a step further. We've talked about this too, where you freeze your credit. So, if someone stole your identity, but your credit's frozen, well, they're not going to be able to do anything because all the credit's frozen.
I think everybody should do that. Like, right now, unless you're in the middle of a transaction trying to get a loan. Most of our clients don't have loans.
Yeah, and you can turn it off and on real easily nowadays.
Most of our clients aren't getting new loans, but some of the younger ones are. But look, if you're not getting a loan and anytime soon, you can turn it off within 2 seconds anyway, 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Yeah, you can turn it on.
Freeze your credit. Everybody freeze the credit. It takes seriously 10 minutes to do it.
Yeah,
online, it's free, and then no one can go start getting credit cards.
And where do you do that? Where do you
actually go
to
those websites? You actually go to Experian, you go to TransUnion, you actually go to them,
to the bureaus themselves. Yeah,
is there format, if I recall right?
There's 3 of them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's put those links in the show notes as well then.
And then,
when you freeze credit, no one can take credit out on you. So it's different than remember Jeff Lanza, our friend who's the FBI, who's a special agent. All these people want to do these fraud alerts. Well, a company will, if a fraud alert's on an account, it doesn't mean a company still wants to get the sale. So if they see that there's a fraud alert but no credit freeze, they may still let the credit go through.
Yeah.
So the credit freeze is the one that's the tightest.
Yeah, they can't. If you have that on and you go apply for a car loan, they're going to say, "Hey, we're not able to access your credit." They'll probably know why, but you're going to have to unfreeze it before we can process this application. Adding trusted contacts too. That's a thing we constantly talk to clients about, that adding a trusted contact. So it's not to share the financial details. It's just, who do you want us to contact if we can't get a hold of you? Or if someone's impersonating you and, somehow they've taken over your cell phone because of the SIM swap things, and we want to call someone else and confirm, like, hey, what's going on? Something seems off. Who do you want us to contact? That's an important one to add. And then even using like virtual credit card numbers. I mean, I think a lot of folks feel using credit cards online is definitely safer than, paying things with a debit card or, a transfer from your bank account, using your ACH and your routing number, because the credit card companies typically take care of it if it is fraudulent. But you can even take it a step further. A lot of these credit cards offer virtual credit card numbers, meaning it's like a random number that's tied to your account, so it changes constantly. If you use like the wallets on your phone, a lot of times the cards that are saved under those wallets are using virtual credit card numbers when they're making payments, kind of already built in. Um, so, again, other ways to protect yourself to just be aware of what's going on. But it starts with you primarily. Like that's the important thing. Like if you give someone information and then they use it, there's really not a lot anyone else can do about it. So you've got
That's
to
right.
start there and then kind of work your way backwards to, okay, let's protect anybody pretending to be me by not allowing them to access my stuff. But then when people reach out to you, that's when those red flags should start going up.
One thing I wanted to close out the program with asking you, both of you, and sharing your experience with the listeners. Now, see, I'm very, very fortunate because we have an amazingly robust cyber
Yeah.
program here at Keene. We have IT staff on site and consultants, and
Oh, our
it's
systems are locked down. Yeah.
locked down, and I get advised what to do no matter what. I mean, I'm the old man here at the firm, but that's fine because I'm constantly calling, say, hey, come look at this, come look at that, help me with this, and I get that help, right? I mean, I get the help, and so something pops up, Steve, like you mentioned, or one of you mentioned earlier. It said, I think Linda, Steve,
Yeah.
where it said, hey, your system, you need to download this,
Right.
this system to get rid of the viruses. But what really happens is, even if it's not saying that, you're on your home computer and something pops up and says your malware is expiring. You need to update your malware. You need to update it. So go ahead and click this. And people are like, wait, was that my malware? Is my malware expiring? Maybe I do need to update it, or is it not? They're trying to figure out, wait, is that my malware? Or they're saying, hey, your iOS, I'm talking about iPhones now, but like your iOS system needs to be updated. And I think that's true. You should update those every
Oh,
single
yeah.
time, because I do
Yep.
think that is they're coming up
A
with
lot of them are security
patches.
patches. Yep.
So you want to keep those updated on
Yeah.
your whether it's your iPhone or your whatever, the Android, keep those things updated. But the same thing goes for all your operating systems on your home computer, correct?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
right? So I have people here at Keene that tell me all the time what to do. Like, yes, that's right. But what do people do at home that their systems need to be updated? And I promise you. I mean, we see some of these computers. Well, anyway, folks come in, they bring these old laptops in from forever ago. They won't like
Well,
up
those
even
might
down.
be better than the new one.
Yeah,
Harder to
yes.
access.
And it makes you wonder, like, do they have the appropriate malware and protections on
Yeah.
there or not, and how to really know that? I guess you just have to be savvy, right? You just have to be today.
Keeping those things up to date. Now, I mean, if you're a Windows has built-in Windows Defender, things like that, it's built in to Windows, not
Okay.
necessarily a, third-party application that you have to purchase, but it's always important to keep those up to date. And if your laptop or PC is getting older, it's important to update that in a way where, okay, if I can't continue to, because I mean, Windows will come out and say, we're not supporting these
Yeah.
versions of your computer anymore, meaning you're going to be vulnerable because there's no more updates ever again. It's over. So, it does speak to staying on top of that. And it's like, yeah, you might have to you can buy laptops and PCs fairly inexpensively, but it's a hassle to get a new one and transfer all your stuff over. But that is something that you should think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big issue here, important conversation. And good thing is, you guys, and I think as the securities industry in general is obviously well aware
Yep. Yeah.
of how big of an issue this is. And so all the brokerage firms from Schwab to Fidelity, all the major fund companies, Vanguard, and so on and so forth, they have very strong, beefy systems to limit this. They have multiple protocols when money's being withdrawn to confirm everything. So don't see a whole lot of it, I think, in the area that we operate in. But certainly on a personal level,
Yeah.
it can be a big issue.
I think it was good that we conversed about some of the things we saw. And, Matt, that the FBI report is really what kind of triggered that.
Yeah.
I think it's good that we roll an episode like this through every time period, 8 or 9 months. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
You name it, every so often, to help folks think through these things, because We didn't want to be, one thing I would say is we didn't want to be morbid or depressing today with all this data and scary, but yet you do have to talk about it and be aware.
And be aware of it. Yep.
That's right. And just be on guard, live life, enjoy life, the fruits of our labors, abundance mentality, but be aware of these things that can come at you. So that's why we devoted the episode to it today. And I think some of the examples we had hopefully hit home with folks.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, we will wrap it there and make sure that you like and subscribe to the podcast, or like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if that's where you are watching this. And as always, please tell all your friends and colleagues as well about what we're doing here. We'd love to continue to get the word out there to a broader audience. And if you have any questions or comments about what we're doing here, please feel free to reach out to us at keenwealthadvisors.com. And we will catch you on the next episode of Keen on Retirement. Take care, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you.
The Steve Sandusky Advisor Network and Belay Advisor are not affiliated with Keen Wealth Advisors. Opinions expressed by Steve are his own and not necessarily the opinions of Keen Wealth Advisors. Keen Wealth Advisors is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Keen Wealth Advisors and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. The contents of this podcast are intended for the residents of the United States of America. No advice may be rendered by Keen Wealth Advisors unless a client service agreement is in place. This program is intended for informational purposes only and should not be construed as advice on or a recommendation of any particular investment, strategy, or as tax or legal advice for your specific situation. Keen Wealth Advisors is not a tax or legal advisor. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your licensed professional prior to investing. Information in this program was compiled from sources believed to be reliable. Due to the constant state of data changing, we do not guarantee the timeliness or the accuracy of the information provided. Our views or opinions at the time you are listening to the podcast may be different than they were when the podcast was recorded. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Any indices referenced for comparison are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. Any prices that are referenced or market forecasts are as of the date stated and are not necessarily our opinions moving forward. As always, please remember, investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. This podcast is not allowed to be copied, distributed, published, or reproduced without permission from Keen Wealth Advisors.